In just a few hours, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to take on the Bruins in Game 5 with their life on the line. And we have some major updates to discuss. As Auston Matthews, we have a huge update regarding him, as well as the goaltender. We know who it is, and it might be a bit surprising to some of you. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we do, your support has been unbelievable. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're a part of the 80% who haven't already. The Leafs are kind of disappointing right now, but hopefully you're enjoying the daily content. And make sure to hit that button. We're on the road to 10,000, or maybe we're going to hit it a bit before we thought we were going to. But Darius, a lot to discuss today. And let's start with the goaltender situation, and we'll get into the Auston Matthews update, which is a little bit surprising here in a minute. And Joseph Woll is not on the ice, the team's optional skate, while Samsonov and Jones are taking part. Strongly projects that Woll will start tonight against Boston. Now, there's some other screenshots we'll get into regarding the Bruins as well, but let's just start with this, Darius. We kind of predicted this yesterday in one of yesterday's 3 videos that we made, but it looks like Joseph Woll is going to get the nod. Makes total sense. They had to change something up. Samsonov hasn't looked good, but still a little bit surprising given kind of the way they've been handling the entire postseason run and the games down the stretch in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't hate this move at all. I think with what we've seen from Samsonov through the first 4 games, he's become a non-option for some reason. I thought he played well the second half of the season, and it's gotten to the point. I don't think he's the only problem, of course. That's not what I'm saying, but he has become a problem, I think, and they need to move on from that. I think if they want any chance, and this is their last chance here, they have to win out if they want to win this series. So they're putting it in the hands of Joseph Woll, who I know hasn't been good since he came back from injury, but he hasn't been necessarily awful per se. And listen, he's a calming presence in the net, injury or not. I find that he plays way more patient and with way more poise than Ilya Samsonov. And maybe that patience will radiate through the team, because everything comes through your goaltender, I find, in hockey, right? If your goaltender's all over the place, the team might be all over the place trying to block shots and stuff like that. Although that's a good thing and you should do that anyway. But I find with more patience in net and a calmer presence in between the pipes, it might change the team's demeanor too. So as long as he's good and he's patient and he's himself, I think this could be a good thing for the Leafs. Like I said, I just don't think Samsonov has it, at least in this series. And their backs against the wall. They know what they have in Samsonov, and they don't like it, so they're moving to Woll. And again, I like Woll. I just hope that he plays more like himself from last year, or before the injury, I should say.
Yeah, I think Woll has the higher ceiling in this case, at least for right now, to potentially steal a game. And I mean, the good thing is, if Joseph Woll has a great game tonight and he gets rolling, he's been a very, very good goaltender. We saw it some parts of this year, last year, especially when he kind of made his debut for the Leafs there, and he had a very good 2.17 or something goals against average.
Yeah.
He could steal a game for the Leafs. And on the Bruins side, when asked about the Bruins starter, have you seen the movie The Mummy? An interesting quote from from Jim Montgomery. He's always very interesting with his quotes. Do you have any thoughts on the Bruins starter night? Do you care who it's going to be, or are you worried at all about any of that?
It's pretty interesting where this series has gone with the Leafs and the Bruins at the beginning. A lot of gamesmanship and a lot of mind games and stuff where people weren't naming goaltenders, and the injury thing and everything was very secretive. And it's gotten to the point now in Game 5 where the Leafs are like, all right, this is what's happening. This is who's injured. And the Bruins are still playing games.
Secretive.
Although I think we know who it's going to be. But I think Montgomery's just having a little bit of fun. I think we all know who it's going to be. But I just think it's funny, the dynamic of the series, the way it's gone, that we get that from the Bruins still. Now the Leafs are like, yeah, this is what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of funny. We'll definitely see who goes in, whether that be Swayman or Ullmark. But let's hopefully it's Ullmark. But hopefully let's get into Ryan Reeves a little bit here. He spoke on the Game 5 start, and he said he's excited to get in there and do his thing. I mean, the team has confidence in him. Obviously, this was kind of written on the wall when Sheldon Keefe called out the goaltending and the special teams. Samsonov was the one. Obviously, he was getting called out because Joseph Walters went in there for his period, 5 shots, didn't give up a goal. So this is kind of the writing on the wall here. On no pun intended, writing on the wall, but it's gonna be interesting to see. Now let's get into the Auston Matthews, because this is kind of the juicy stuff here. So Auston Matthews is the first player on the ice for the Leafs morning skate, a good sign ahead of Game 5 tonight. Now if you're watching this video, don't get your hopes too high. I'm about to crush them in about 3 seconds with another screenshot here. And it says Sheldon Keefe says Auston Matthews is working on things to get himself play. Says it will be the doctor's call to see if he plays tonight. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. And if you actually, there's another screenshot as well, basically saying that Darius, I think he was on the ice for 8 minutes total. He skated, saw how it went. It wasn't great, and then got off the ice. But again, the doctors are going to make the final call on this. So didn't mean to get your hopes up there, but it's looking like he's questionable at the very best. He's questionable. It's probably more so on the doubtful side, I think, personally, but We'll see.
I think it's doubtful, like you said, but I think like it's teetering both sides again. And again, a lot of the language they're using is stuff we heard when Nylander was supposed to play and then he didn't end up playing. So I feel like they're leaning towards doubtful. They're just gonna have to see how he feels later, come warm up time. So uh, it's going to be interesting to watch like how this progresses towards the game. Obviously, I don't think we're going to hear anything until warm up, but it did look good. I mean, he came on the ice, he was feeling it, how he felt, 8 minutes, and then I think I saw that it was an optional skate. So the fact that he left, I wouldn't play too much into that either because he normally doesn't even take the optional skates. So there's maybe he's just trying to feel how he feels on the skates. Again, the doctors are going to make the decision. Clearly, he's not 100%. It's probably not even close to 100%. So it's going to be on the doctors and how he feels closer to game time. And then even if he does play, how much does he play? How much of an impact does he have? Do the doctors pull him again? There's a lot at play here. So if you're going to take out a roster spot for him for maybe, he plays a period and a half or something like that, and maybe he's not even a factor in the game. Maybe you just look at sitting him and just seeing what you have with the other guys. Listen, you have three other $11 million players who I'm sure can pull a little bit of the load too.
That's the biggest question now is if he does end up playing, how will he be able to perform? And obviously, 50% Auston Matthews is probably still better than most of the guys or every other guy
Yes.
that the Leafs could play instead of him. But the issue is that if he ends up leaving early in the first period, especially really early in the game, even in the second period, you're then down, obviously, a roster spot, you're down a player. And the fact that he's not 100% is bad. The positive, I guess, is that it's still an illness. At least that's what we think. So it's not something that would get worse necessarily if he plays in the sense of any long-term effects, which is probably why he's questionable. Whereas Nylander, kind of the same with Nylander with his migraine. They haven't even been physical. I guess migraine's still physical, but like an injury to the body, to a body part or anything like that could be hurt in the future. But I think he's gonna play maybe. Like they might try to play, but they need to weigh the positives and negatives here. And it's very tough because I'd say I want him to play, and obviously he's our best player. But if they don't get 100%, even if they don't get 70% Auston Matthews and he ends up leaving early and the doctors pull him, that's when the negatives and the possibility of that would be a disaster. If they let him play, he gets pulled, even just a
Yeah.
PR disaster. They let him play, he gets pulled in the first period. They're down a player. We saw the lineups be shaked up yesterday. You had Connor Dewar there on the first line. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. And we'll know more probably not until like 6 hours from now, 30 minutes before the first or the before puck drop.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be, that's all we're going to know at, warm up time. That's when we're going to know what's happening and if he takes warm up or not. And even if he takes warm up, maybe they're sending everyone out there in case like he doesn't feel good after warm up and he doesn't dress or whatever is going to end up happening. Listen, I think he wants to play and I'm sure that the team wants him to play. But there's a couple factors here. If the doctors say, listen, you can't go, then like, what are you going to do? Like sports are different now, right? They're taking care of the players more so. Like a lot of guys, we've seen them play through concussions and stuff in the 90s and all this
Broken
stuff. Like sports is
ribs.
different. Broken rib, yeah, everything, right? Like there's so much that they played through, punctured lungs that we heard. Like
Yep.
there's a lot, right? So sports are different. If he's not good enough to go, they're gonna pull him. Obviously he'll play through it if he
Yeah.
can, and I think he wants to, but there's just a lot at play here.
Very much so. And Darius, we're a few hours away from puck drop, and
Do or die.
hopefully we'll get some positive news regarding Auston Matthews, and hopefully I give some good luck being in the city to the Toronto Maple Leafs, even though they're not even here. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know your thoughts are on all this. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys later today.